You can actually put it a little more on you.
Okay. I think it's gonna be a little different because I'm on YouTube.
I got you.
All right. Hi.
Hey, baby.
Hey, I'm excited. How you feeling?
Pretty good. How about you?
All right. So, welcome to Sippin' Tea with Sally K. And I am so excited about my special guest, my husband, my other half, my better half, Sir James Ivory Carter. Ooh. He's going to be my co-host. How you feel about that?
Not too bad. We got a visitor. Go outside, please.
Rocky's trying to join. All right. So, how you feeling about that? You're gonna join me every week for the next
5 weeks or
maybe 6.
4 weeks.
No, you're trying to shorten the
last week was you said 6 weeks.
Right.
So it was last week 6 weeks. Today's show.
I know, but since we've been studying, I think it's, can we just say 6 weeks? How about, hey, I'm just so excited you're my co-host. I don't care for how long.
However many shows it takes.
That's right. That's right. And we are studying the 5 love languages by Gary Chapman. Yes, this is an amazing book. It's already found itself to be very, very helpful. But before we get too far along, let's do a temperature check. Let's see how is everyone doing and what is in your cup. I am sipping jasmine tea. It's so good. What's in your cup?
I actually have
it smells so good.
Cranberry pineapple juice mix.
Oh, we just discovered that this weekend. I think it's a special edition. Really, it is so good. Yes. Babe.
It's ocean spray. I know I'm not supposed to.
You're not. I'm gonna let you have that. How was your weekend?
My weekend was pretty good. We met up with some friends we have not seen in eons.
Yes.
A long time, and it was really good to catch up with them and kind of figure out where we both of us as couples are and what they're doing, what we're working on, and it just worked out beautifully that we reconnected. Especially
now, as we're starting this new series, and they've been married over 30 years, about 30. I meant to ask.
31 years.
Oh, 31 years, and we've been married 20.
It's 2021.
We've been married 21 years.
There we go.
I only feel pressure when you look at me like that because I know you're waiting for me to mess it up. Yes. And so it's just amazing to have someone, God, for God to put somebody in our presence at a time like this, like right now is perfect timing. So that was amazing. We had a great weekend.
We did.
So let's get into this. How are you all feeling? Hopefully you've got your cups and whatever's in your cup. Make yourselves comfortable. We're going to go through and just discuss the 5 love languages. Babe, how was it for you?
Well, having read the book before, it was just kind of good to go back and, reread those chapters as kind of a refresher. And then even like some things that didn't pop out then because other things were going on.
Right.
Some of the other context was a little bit more relevant, in my life, and probably yours too, than they were the first time we read the book.
Did something in particular you can think of?
Well, it was a couple things. Especially with the first chapter and, like trying to figure out, there was a comment that hang on 1 second, I should have marked it.
I know.
But it was about the guy who had been married twice. And
3 times. The guy on the plane who had been married 3 times and he didn't know where the love went.
Well, what happens to the love after marriage, before the marriage, and what is your psychological construct or concept of what love is supposed to look like. And then when you get married, people expect, I guess, things to be different because you're married.
What do you mean?
Well,
yes, people.
Yeah, no, listen to me.
Okay.
So your relationship is what it is.
Yes.
But I think the psychological construct of marriage makes people believe like their relationship is going to be different simply because they got married. But other things happen, and like especially when he talked about she had a baby, then he felt like all of her attention was on the baby. Like, but that's what's supposed to happen.
But I kind of think the opposite. I feel like people think things will remain the same after they get married. And that's the problem, that they think, oh, we'll always be in love. We'll always feel mushy-gushy. We'll always feel like we're on our honeymoon. Like he said, after they got married, the love went. He expected it to stay the same always. Yeah. And when that didn't happen, he's like, I'm out of here. Yeah.
I mean, I see that. I see that perspective too. But it also, I almost feel like, he felt like, okay, yeah, things are going to be the same, right?
Yes.
Things are going to be the same. I'm still doing whatever, but as their life circumstances changed,
right?
Like he didn't make any adjustments.
Exactly.
So they have the baby, and if you don't think there's going to be a huge adjustment, and let me correct myself, I don't believe that her focus should have 100% been on the child, but was that his perception? Because she said to him, "Are you crazy?"
Right.
Like you don't get like, why I'm, and she said it made a reference to her being a 24-hour nurse. Being a nurse
that's
for 24 hours.
That's huge. All that entails of being a nurse, which means, in this scenario, she felt like a constant caregiver, a constant caretaker. Which, as a woman, I can hear her question, who's taking care of me?
Definitely.
Yeah. That's good.
Question?
Yeah, let's go to a question. That's good. That's so good. On page 16, it says your turn after, this discussion. I'd love to know what people thought about the book and so far. This week we read the first three chapters, which is a nice introduction. And I like the questions after each chapter. So the first one, after chapter 1, it says, how does your spouse respond when you try to show affection? How does your spouse respond when you try to show affection? Amazingly, I'm pretty fortunate. Actually, I really am. I've never, not for real. I've never felt rejected by you or by my.
You never felt rejected when you showed affection to me, like really
Correct.
Felt rejected. Yeah.
Correct. I may feel like it on the surface a little bit,
Like if I'm getting ready to go to work.
You do me like that too all the time.
And I'm rushing. I'm trying to get myself to get stuff together. And I'll come over and give her like a real quick peck and to grab myself and run out of the door. And I know that feels a little superficial.
No, that's not when.
Well, when are you talking about? What if I get out of the bed?
Or just kind of like, I don't know what level. Is this PG? I'm just saying, there are moments when, not for real, I never for real feel rejected by you, ever. But there are little moments when maybe I want you to spend a little extra time and you can't because you have another obligation. Yeah. And you are a stickler about time.
So you feel like sometimes I cut your efforts to show affection shorter than you like.
Oh, I like how you translated that. That would be correct. That would be absolutely correct.
It is. I feel bad about it, and I know when.
I know you do.
And I know when it's happening, but I still have to go. You know what I mean? So.
And you know what? Let me say this. As your wife, I know you feel bad about it. And I know that I don't feel like for real rejected. But I'm wrong for even putting you in that situation. You know what I mean? Thankfully, it's light, but I shouldn't want you to feel bad at all.
Well, I know you don't want me to feel bad.
But I know that it makes you feel bad, if I do that. So it's like, let the boy go.
Yeah, let me run out here and go to work, babe.
Is there a how do you feel? Am I scared to ask these questions?
Why would you be afraid?
Okay.
No, I think I'm pretty fortunate in that regard too. And then I guess really the only time like there's ever any like friction when I think about receiving affection from you is if like, let's just say we've had an argument or, we're not seeing eye to eye on something and I'm still kind of like, a little steamed or whatever. Then you come up and like try to kiss me. I'm like, try to kiss me now.
I'm like, you better come up out of that phone.
Yeah, but I give into it and I receive it. And, so I mean, other than that, yeah, I'm fortunate.
Yeah. We're good. So the next chapter, keeping the love tank full. Here's a little excerpt. We needed love before we fell in love, and we will need it as long as we live. I'll read that again. We needed love before we fell in love, and we will need it as long as we live.
What, you trying to dig into that?
Well, yeah, let's go for it.
Yeah, I mean it's human nature to want to be loved, and they talk about that. The author talks about that in the book, and then like there's so many different ways that the word love is used. People say, I love this, I love that, I love my dog, I love ice cream. You love a lot of different things, but the word love applies differently,
right?
Depending on the person or the object or the activity that you're talking about. So when you say I love coffee and you say you love your husband, those two loves that you're using to communicate how you feel about those two different things are not synonymous. So I can't equate my love to you for like my love for peanut butter.
Right.
Not the same.
Right. Well, even with regards to love and the expression of love, I think oftentimes we go off that saying, treat others how you want to be treated. That's false. Of course, especially according to Mr. Chapman here.
Yeah.
We have to learn how the other person wants to be loved and how they want to be treated and treat them accordingly. And oftentimes it's different from the way we want to be loved and how we want to be treated. And I think that is what causes a lot of friction.
Yeah, I can't. So if I want you to treat me, I'm sorry, I can't treat you the way I want you to treat me. But that's
the saying though.
Yeah, I know. Like, and it'll never work that way. So if your love language or whatever your prioritized, love language is number one for you, and I'm trying to communicate it, I'm trying to communicate my love to you, trying to speak what I think is your love language, and it's number 5 on your priority list. I'm showing affection, I'm showing love in my own way, but you're not receiving it, in the way you need, to feel it. So it's all about, making sure that your spouse is getting, that specific type of love packaged up so that it fills your love tank.
Is this the part in the book when the wife thought that they were going to get a divorce, and then for a month she continued to love on her husband the way he wanted to be loved? I thought that was really amazing. Just amazing. That took a lot of willpower.
Mm-hmm.
Because let's just be honest, when you feel like your love tank is empty or your spouse isn't responding to you, the last thing you want to do is give them what they want.
Mm-hmm.
But so to me, that's the tricky part about relationships and love. Because when you love someone, you want to give to them. You want to make them feel good, great, well. You want to express love to them.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you see or you recognize their love language and not respond,
Mm-hmm.
what does that really say?
If you see their love language
Mm-hmm.
and you don't respond
and you don't respond to it.
Yeah. I mean, it'll make you feel like, your efforts are, worthless. But then, then also like in the relationship, at some point,
Mm-hmm.
one person is going to be the wiser of the two in terms of what needs to be done maintenance wise to get their relationship and their intimacy and communication going back in the right direction. Somebody might be, dealing with, some pretty heavy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't like to admit it, but sometimes we take out, some of those frustrations on the closest person to us and we shut down.
Mm-hmm.
And of course it's not healthy. But, for better, richer, poor, better, worse, sickness, and health, like somebody in the relationship at certain points, especially when things need some attention, is going to have to make that critical decision. Okay, I know this is a rough point, but it's my turn, or it may be on me because I'm more capable at this point of pouring out the love that I know our relationship needs to, one, survive, and then two, to start to repair, heal, and get better.
That is so good. The fact that in a relationship you take turns. That there are some times when one spouse is doing the pouring and while the other is receiving, and then vice versa. The other, the other is doing the pouring. What about the times when you feel like, you're always doing the pouring and you never get to receive? For us, I feel like we're fortunate because we have learned that balance. That's why we're able to talk about it now. But it wasn't always that way. We had to work to get here. So now we know it's kind of like, okay, my turn. Ooh, let me put ego and pride to the side for the sake of our relationship and moving forward.
Yeah, and then like it depends on like I think how you grew up and perceived what love looked like. You know what I mean?
I'm so glad you hit me. Oh, I'm glad you're hitting me.
When you saw a relationship, or even deeper than that, the first relationship that you acknowledged as a human being between a man and a woman, whatever. It's like, okay, this is my first observation of what I think love looks like, or what I think a relationship looks like. And then whoever the two people were, it's like, okay, this is what this concept means. This is how you're supposed to treat each other. And then you also get some articulation from, whether it's your parents or whoever raised you. They will talk about situations. They will say certain things and talk about love and relationships. And that builds your expectation of what you think a relationship is and what love is supposed to be, and how someone is supposed to treat you, that kind of thing. And obviously we all have grown up in different families, so everybody has a different story, and love isn't going to look the same, based on how we were socialized to believe what is it in the first place. And then second, what does it look like to see it manifested in a relationship?
That is huge, and it's a difficult process that we had to work through, because from my upbringing, I thought, and we talk about this, that's why I'm so glad that you're bringing this up. For me, I thought a good husband, based on everything you're saying, a good husband, number one, was a provider. they provided for their families. They had, they had good jobs by whatever definition that meant at the time, based, on my little observation through my lens. They were home every day. My cousins had a mother and a father in the home. They owned their own home. So I grew up, when I saw my family members who were married, that's what I saw. So number one, my husband had to provide, or my spouse, because we already know that.
And he had to be handy too. Remember you?
And that's number.
I had to be able to fix something.
Oh yes. So the ultimate matriarch of our family. Are you laughing?
No.
Oh, okay. He from what I saw, he provided, but he also knew how to repair cars and anything else. So in my mind, if you were a husband or a spouse, you could also repair everything. You could fix any and everything. So those were like the two major things. I never thought about how the relationship should look as far as affection or anything like that, because what I did not see growing up in any of the examples I saw of relationships, I didn't see intimacy. I never saw that. There were family members, aunts and uncles, and I saw the head of the house. I saw leading the family spiritually. I saw that. All the things, but I did not see intimacy. So then when we got together, I rejected public affection, holding hands in public. No way. I had strict rules on our first kiss at the wedding. It had to be a peck because everyone would see. Just craziness.
Yeah, but I mean, again, what is it? Was it all go back to?
That's how I was socialized. Is what I saw. And when all of this, all of you appeared, you were the total package, but then you couldn't fix cars. Oh my goodness.
Oh, yeah, one thing on the qualifying checklist,
You could not fix cars, even though you grew up around your family. I mean, they could fix any and everything. He couldn't fix cars, so I thought, okay, this can't be the total package. So the point of all of this is, we have to have our own relationships, and yes, we have our ideas based on our the socialization and upbringing. But at the end of the day, for us, spirituality is important, and having God lead us through prayer, and and through things like this, and talking to other couples for insight, not for full guidance, because again, you have to, go your own path. But no two relationships are alike.
No. Yeah. So like no two relationships, no two people. I mean, it's so many different variables. Like you have to keep an open mind.
Yeah.
When you're talking about love and relationships.
Yeah.
You have to keep open. So I don't care how long you're going to be. There are certain things about your character that I know won't change. Your character. There are certain things about your personality traits that I know won't change. But there are a few things in terms of, and it all stems to like needs and situational circumstances.
Right.
Depending on where you are, those things, like your needs in certain moments will change. Your focus on different things like will change, in which it'll shift some things around, like on your needs priority list.
Right.
Like,
true.
Because at one point, like traveling, or let's say it's your business, you can be like deeply rooted in that, and you need support like for the business, and then everything's going good with the business. Then you're working on something else, and then that becomes like the focal point, but it shifts your daily routine. It shifts like your mindset and the stuff that you would typically do to prepare for what used to be your priority for however many weeks or months it was. And then boom, something changes. And it's just like like a drop of water in the pond, ripple effect, and things subtle change. able to, kind of ride those little waves, in order to stay in a position to be close enough to understand that you got to make some little adaptations too.
As life continues to hit you. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, the question at the end of this chapter is, on a scale of 0 to 10, how full is your love tank? I'll let you answer that one first.
Well, on a scale of 1 to 10, I would probably say 8.5 to 9. Let's go with that. That's really, really close to a 10. Yeah.
Can you really ever be a 10? I'm going to continue to strive because I'm kind of like, wait a minute.
I don't think it's a realistic expectation,
right,
to have your love cup 100% filled. And who would know what that looks like? How would you even know what that feels like? You know what I mean?
Ooh.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, I've never met anybody. I mean, we've had moments where we've been extremely happy, and we could say it was 10. But is it based on, well, we had a rough spot and now we're doing a lot better than we were before?
Right.
And just throughout the course of a day. So if somebody's love cup, this is how I think if somebody's love cup is 100% full, there wouldn't be any arguments.
Right, but there are moments when there are no arguments. There are moments when everything is just shh. Is that because for the moment your love tank is full?
Well, let me rephrase that.
Okay.
There wouldn't be any arguments about any disconnect or a lack of something being expressed to you by your spouse or your partner in the relationship.
True.
Now we could argue about, you didn't take out the trash. Oh, but baby, you forgot to. Or I'm like, babe, why you step on my new Jordans and stuff them up? We can argue but I don't really see that as a fight. Like we can argue about trivial things, but in terms of having a fight and a breakdown
of communication
about your relationship, and like you're missing something, or there wouldn't be any arguments.
Right. Well, yeah. And the person, I don't think, would say that they were on a 10, that they would say their love tank is on a 10 if they were in that situation. We're a bit fortunate. Again, we're thankfully, this is the right time for us to facilitate this book, because we are in a space where we have gone through, and so we can talk about, we can talk about some things. I think after being married over 20 years, we've learned some things.
Yeah, you're gonna definitely have some experiences and a lot of scenarios you can go back and kind of replay and analyze, think about some of the choices you made at certain points, where you made good choices, where you made bad choices. And you always, if you're optimistic about it, you'll learn, from all of those mistakes, just like any other life experience that teaches you, okay, this is what I did. This is what happened. This is what it caused. This is how we fixed it. This is how we communicated. This is where we, lost touch in certain places.
Right.
So all of these things, like, they are like literally like bullet points, in your notebook for like love repair.
I feel like, as I'm hearing you speak, I feel like in relationships, we oftentimes think of ourselves, right? Like we're selfish creatures anyway. And so in relationships, in love relationships especially, it's no different. We always think that the other person should be thinking of us. But in reality, as things have changed, even in our relationship and the way I see you, when I think of love, I think of how I can treat you. And I think that was just a little moment. We not too long ago were talking about love and the definition of that in John 3:16, and how love is about giving. For God so loved, he gave, right? But in relationships, in marital relationships, we oftentimes think about, oh, he loves me because he does this, or she loves me because she does this. But it really is, I do this, or he loves me. He loves when I do this for him. I think we need to change our language.
Yeah.
It's a mindset,
Mm-hmm.
It's about giving to the other person. And it's making me understand how is it that when you're not feeling the other person, how do you still feed them in their love language if you're not feeling them in the moment? Yeah,
you're leading into the third chapter now.
Okay, tell me. Go ahead, because I'm feeling
it. They talked about that, how there's all these different ways that you can express love, and if you identify whatever love language, 1, 2, or 3, any of the ones, and just because the priority is words of affirmation right now,
right,
that doesn't mean only focus on words of affirmation,
right.
You still got 4 other languages, that still need a little bit of attention. Now, the one at the top may need more attention than all of them, but you still have 4 others that kind of need to be touched here and there too, while you're focusing on what you know to be the priority. But even inside of the 5 love languages, it said that the only restriction to how you express one of those 5 love languages to your significant other is imagination.
Yes.
So you try to show words of affirmation, and the way you express those words didn't result in your significant other receiving it as affirmation.
Right.
Now, you thought you said something good, but it didn't go over so well.
Right.
So instead of saying, words of affirmation didn't work,
forget it.
Yeah, no.
This doesn't work.
Yeah. How many different words or ways can you tell someone that you love that you appreciate them? Or you did a good job, oh, you look nice today. Oh man, that was smart. All of these little things. There's so many different, however many words are in the English language,
right,
and however many sentences that you can formulate based on the number of ways you can put these words together. It's infinite. So it's not.
It's true. It's not just that one time. And when you really love that person, you would be willing to try other things. You would be willing to, explore because you love that person. That's yeah.
And it's like our friend said, like you try something and it fails.
Yes.
You try something and it fails. Like, okay, well, that didn't work. So now I'm going to try the next thing.
You know what? Okay, so what I feel like a scenario of, okay, this is not to pick on guys, but it just feels like the perfect example, right? So I'm just going to say a spouse gives, you're hot.
You turn the heat up?
No, the heat was already up. It is wintertime,
Yeah.
A spouse, we'll have you a fan.
Well, I think it's warmer in here because the couch is not covering that vent anymore.
That's true.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
But a spouse hears another spouse. So, okay, spouse A complains that spouse B never shows them any type of affection. So spouse A says, okay, fine, and gets spouse B some flowers. Spouse A thinks, okay, I gave spouse B flowers, all is well. Spouse B is like, gee, thanks. I appreciate it. Why is it that most times, especially when you get to this point, right? Most times spouse A will be like, see, there's just no pleasing spouse B. I bought spouse B flowers. What's their problem? And then they want to give up. It's just hopeless. But if it was a new promotion on a job or,
before you get away from that,
okay,
does spouse B even like flowers?
Well, that was going to be my point I was getting to is.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, don't be sorry, babe. No, that's good. Because spouse stop to think that maybe spouse be, like you just said, doesn't like flowers.
Mhm.
Why just give up so quickly? You know, but if you love that person, you'll continue to explore. But it's important to try to really understand and learn the other person's love language, so you're not just in a hamster wheel.
Mhm.
You know, exploring the same way, exploring in the same lane, the wrong love language.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Well, okay, so from this it says, and this is the last question, and this is at the end of chapter 3. Can you read that one, babe? That was on page 35.
Yeah.
I'm trying to turn this heat down for you.
Yeah, it says, can you pinpoint a time in your marriage when reality set in? And follow-up question, how did this affect your relationship for better or worse? So you want me to answer? Or
You can. Go ahead.
Well, I think we were probably a little, maybe almost 2 years into the marriage.
Okay.
And this is when you were really, really driven. We had just had JC. And
when I was driven.
No,
I'm laughing because I'm always thinking of something crazy.
No. I mean, but you had basically, said, you know what? I am gonna go after my career. Blah 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 blah. I don't care what it takes. I'm gonna travel. I'm gonna do this, and I'm like, whoa, she's dead serious about this. You know what I mean? Because like you hear people talk, and I never like doubted that you were driven, but at this particular point in time, it was like an emphatic, I'm going to do this, and I don't care what anybody says. I'm going to chase my dream. And I was like, ooh. Then reality set in. So it forced me to be like, okay, well, again, you can ride the wave, you can learn how to adapt, to Hurricane Sally when she get ready to start spinning around and moving stuff in the universe. So I figured out how to, what's the best way I can support that? You know what I mean? At times I felt like not neglected, but like on the priority list, like, man, and I knew you wouldn't have as much time because you were focusing more on your career.
Right.
But there was still like a man, I want to see my wife some more. I want to, spend more time, with my wife. And then, so then it's like, okay, this is just a particular phase in our relationship, in our marriage, in your personal and professional development. And, we just have to do the best things that we can do to continue to stay close and raise a family and support each other's dreams. And it's a difficult formula that you have to work constantly, especially as like young parents. We were in our 20s.
How did you figure it out? Because I'm sure there's someone who is listening to this.
And error.
But we don't. That's true. That's how we figure it out. Is there something we can say to other people so that they don't have to go through the same trial and error that we did?
I would say when your significant other is telling you, even in subtle comments about what they want to do, at some point you have to expect that they're going to get to this point where they're not going to be talking about their plans and their dreams and aspirations. They're going to start committing to those. So instead of, waiting on that day to come and being shocked, wait on that day to come and prepare yourself leading up to it. So if I'd have been preparing, like one day she's going to take out, one day she's going to take out, one day she's going to take off. So I would have been like, well, I'm going to try to make sure I spend as much time with her now when she gets super busy and we won't have as much time. So then, we could go back and I can think like, man, we spent a whole lot of time. We had a whole lot of fun together before, she went. So it's like overfilling, the love tank. And then once distance and saying you have enough, like in your cup, even though you're sipping on it sometimes without your significant other. Y'all put you fill the love cup together, so it's still, our love working, for the good of our relationship.
You know what? We didn't have that formula before, but it's interesting that you're saying that, because that's what we do now. It got to a point where we were like, okay, after so many weeks, we have to do something. At one point, it was every week we had a date night. It was a small date night. But then every month we did a real date night, and then every other month, I planned, then you
small, like weekend getaway kind of thing.
Yeah, and then quarterly we started traveling. We would do something once with the kids, and then something just with ourselves, And so throughout life and the relationship, it has shifted, but we found ways to, you're right, overflow the love tank, so that when we get in these spaces where we can't, reach out and touch as much as we want to, we have the experiences that we can lean upon. But that's what worked for us. I think everyone will have to find their own way to keep their love tank filled, or at least have some sense of an understanding of what works for them and not.
Yeah, and I think it depends on where it's not so much that, the age of the person, but it's difficult to have wisdom and not experience.
That's true. So, but you can be wise enough to learn from other people's experience.
Yeah, you can be wise in that regard.
Yeah.
But I would venture to say that the couple we spent time with here recently, if we're talking about actual wisdom, they have a lot more personal and life experience to build that, that wisdom that wisdom is built upon. You know what I mean? So we have a level of wisdom that, our own child who's married, like she doesn't have the life experience, to the point where, she would be able to articulate exactly, or even close enough to the point where she can communicate that to her husband, and then him being wise enough and experienced enough to articulate that, so it takes time. And even at that age, you have to be conscious about working towards getting there.
You do. And she and I were just talking the other day, and she commented on, Mommy, especially these past few weeks, I've been thinking about you and Daddy and your relationship, and you're so strong, and you're so this and you're so that, and and I'm trying to be a good wife like you. And I said, pump your brakes. I said, I don't want you to model me. And she kind of looked like, why? And I flat out said, Jaslyn, you learned wrong from me. And she went, what? And I kind of was like, wow, I was glad that it came out of my mouth. And I said, you learned wrong. You learned from a very busy and ambitious young wife and mother. I said, now that it's just Daddy and me, I said, oh, you need to model now how to be a wife. Right? So.
Silly.
Wouldn't you say that I'm a different wife now? I won't say better, because I am who I am, and all that, but a different wife than, 20 years ago, raising 3 children.
Yeah, and there's also more time for you to even toy around with that, and that concept in your mind. So we got a house full of kids and pets.
Exactly. I forgot about the pets and the friends.
Activities and other life stuff. There's so many other things to juggle, but it is a lot easier to focus on each other, when it's just the two of you. And
it's just the two of them now. So I've said, girl, this is the time when, listen, what would you like to eat? What would you like? Love on him. Let him love on you. Take care of each other. This is the time. So she didn't get to see this wife.
Yeah, she saw super, strong, ambitious, didn't take no for an answer, entrepreneur, business starter, you name it. That's what she saw.
But she didn't see.
Excuse me.
Oh, bless you, baby.
Ooh, that came out of nowhere. Excuse me.
It's okay. She didn't see the softer side of that. And that can be really dangerous. That's a whole nother topic.
Yeah.
But it's true though. We can tap into that a little bit. It's important to have a sense of balance. Because our children, they are watching, and people are watching. And so it's not always just what you see is what you get. Mm-hmm. There needs to be layers, And one of the things I said to her is, your spouse needs to see opposite of what the world sees. Mm-hmm. There needs to be something special about my interaction with you and my encounter with you than with the rest of the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because if I felt like you treated me like everybody else in the world, like man, ain't nothing special about
that. Nothing special about me, right?
Yeah. So I'm not special, or Yeah. Yeah. So I get it.
Spouses, and I'm not saying husband or wives, just as people need to feel thought of and validated, and to be made to feel like that they are special. Mm-hmm. And I think as wives, sometimes we forget that, our husbands are little boys inside. I'm trying to hold your hand.
Oh, I thought you were just talking with your hands.
All the way down there, baby.
What?
I wanted to touch you while I said this. Well, I think we forget as women and wives that our husbands are, yes, adult men, but young boys, little boys on the inside, just as strong women
have an inner little girl.
That's right.
Yeah.
And we have to make sure we take care of the little people on the inside of us. Mm-hmm. And with that concept and idea, I think it allows us to be gentle when necessary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of funny too. I really think, so you go back to when you were a child, you really haven't changed that much.
No. People who were here.
So that little girl is a grown woman physically,
right?
And in terms of maturation, but you're still that same little girl.
Mm-hmm. In a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. Yeah, in a lot of ways. Be kind to her. I'll be kind to him.
Now, life will change you.
Yes.
When you start realizing there's certain things in life that, as a child, you can't even, begin to fathom, but as you get older, then you learn, there's some elements in the world that you wish you didn't have to experience, or anybody else for that matter. Mm-hmm. And then, but it also, kind of charges or gives you the motivation to start some of your businesses.
It was necessary.
And,
yeah, absolutely. Well, that's, I believe in all things. Mm-hmm. All things work together for the good, right? And so while we don't like to go through life's experiences, there's a purpose for it. Mm-hmm. But we have to make sure we don't get stuck, in the process, and continue on through the process for purpose. So this is good, baby.
Yeah, really good.
Real good. So I'm so proud of you. Can I say that? First of all, thank you for joining me and being a part of Sippin' Tea with Sally K. And for the next, I don't know how many weeks we have to go through it. You said however long. To co-host with me, it means the world, and you're amazing.
Oh, thank you, sweetie.
So thank you.
It's my pleasure.
And you actually read the book. That's what's so awesome. And so thank you to all of you who are going on this journey with us, and who read so far. It's an easy read. It's,
Yeah, the chapters are really short.
They really are. And they're so relatable. It's doable. And so this week we will read chapter 4, the very first love language, number 1. Mm-hmm.
Words of affirmation.
Words of affirmation. And if you have not already, go ahead and take the quiz book. We did it already. We can talk about it next week. We can share our results, but we already took the test. Go ahead and take the quiz because it'll help you identify what your number one love language is right now. So if you have not already, go ahead and order the book. If you do have the book, go ahead and read up through chapter 4 to chapter 5 because this week we'll be reading chapter 4. What is it? Affirmation.
Words of affirmation. And then the quiz she was talking about,
the profile.
They refer to it as the 5 love languages profile couples. And in the men's, actually it's 2 sections.
Yeah,
there'll be
for
a
women,
profile for her,
yep.
and there'll be a profile for him.
Yep. For her, it starts on page 198. And for him, what page does it start on, babe? I don't know.
It is.
Oh, I have it. Oh, you have it. 191 for men. So go ahead and take the profile.
Yeah.
191? Is that right?
191.
Yep. Go ahead and take the profile, and you can discuss it amongst yourselves. I wonder if you will be surprised what each other's love language.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or well, at least surprised by how the priority list looks.
Yeah.
Because if you think
mine's changed.
It changed a little bit.
Yeah, it did change. It will.
A couple flip-flop.
Yeah, it will. It will. All right. So you all have a wonderful, wonderful week. Hey, before we end, can we close in prayer?
Sure.
No, don't.
No, go right ahead.
No.
You are the host.
I am the host, but you're the guest. But, Sir Carter, you're the head here. So, will you please do the honors?
Wait, whose show is this?
So please.
Okay, we're gonna close in a brief word of prayer. Heavenly Father, thank you, Lord, for providing a platform for us to share our experiences as a married couple. And Father God, we hope that through sharing our experiences and sharing this learning experiences, reading the 5 love languages, that we will bless our marriages, we will bless our children, and we will bless other couples that we come in contact with. And we pray that we are able to model certain behaviors and provide certain examples, Lord, that will allow them to be interested in strengthening their marriage and maybe reach out and ask questions and kind of learn from people around them who have had the opportunity to be blessed enough to partake in this experience. We thank you, we love you, and we praise you in your Son, Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Oh, thank you. Thank you for praying, for covering us. You all have an amazing week, and we will see you next Sunday on Sipping Tea with Sally K and our special co-host, Sir James Ivory Carter. Did I say your whole government? Do?
Yeah, without the junior.
See you next week. Mm-hmm.